What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank, and I'm just sitting here in the middle of the day on a Wednesday enjoying my new retirement. This is awesome. Middle of the week, hump day. I'm at home. Have absolutely nowhere to be, nothing to do. It's amazing. But anyway, what I really want to talk about in this video is how I am noticing, as I'm observing. I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately because I've been, in my own life change, right? I've been getting ready to change from working class to retired class, and there's a lot that goes with that, especially mentally. You have to think about what it is you're going to do with all this newfound freedom, especially at my age, right? So that's kind of like what I'm doing now. But as I've been watching the goings on YouTube and TikTok and everything. And one conclusion that I came up with is that Pan-Africanism works, despite your attitudes. Pan-Africanism works despite people's individual attitudes about how they feel about things, because Pan-Africanism is an actual action and an ideology, right? And it's not just a group of fan clubs that like to talk trash from their side of the line, right? And the reason why I say this is because there's a lot of people who don't call themselves Pan-African. There's a lot of people who don't consider themselves Pan-African, right? But they participate in Pan-African activities, and they promote, unbeknownst to them most of the time, they promote Pan-Africanism, Pan-African ideology, and their actions are actions of a Pan-African, right? Because I'm listening to all these different panels, right? All these black YouTubers, they got panels where people come on and they're talking, and just the way people think about Pan-Africanism when they feel like Pan-Africanism is a club. Then there are a certain group. There is a club of so-called black Pan-Africanists that are on social media. They kind of operate like a gang, right? And like a gang, they attack other designated groups, right? And that's all they really do. They don't really do Pan-African stuff. They just claim Pan-Africanism as their title. They can discuss the issues at hand that us black people have, but they don't actually come up with any solutions, and they don't actually do anything, right? But in those same conversations, I see people who are not Pan-African, right? Who are more Pan-African than the people calling themselves Pan-African. For instance, right? My favorite non-Pan-African on YouTube is Nac Meezy, right? That's my favorite guy. Nac Meezy will go on a show, all right, on a panel, and he will serve some of these Pan-Africans up something proper, right? Sometimes he will troll. Sometimes he enjoys it. He will troll. He will state his opinion as a proud black African American, right? International business guy, and he will press the buttons of any Pan-African that's not prepared to have a conversation with a guy like himself, right? But all the shit that he be talking, right, about Pan-Africanism is this, black people should do this, all his perceived tribalism, right? Despite all that, he's actually Pan-African. His actions are very much Pan-African. The things that he do is Pan-African. He promotes unity and cooperation between different African groups despite their ethnic or religious or national backgrounds. He literally does business in Africa with Africans in concert with he is an example of Pan-Africanism operating at its default setting around the world by itself. Yet he is the main guy, one of the main guys that will come on and will argue every Pan-African down. but I understand what position he has taken. His position is more like, you're going to respect this African American. And you know what? And I understand his trolling is funny and entertaining, and I always tune in no matter where he's at, because I would like to see who can handle Nac Meezy's debate style, right? And who can't handle it, who he's going to piss off, who he's going to get out of pocket, because he's really good at taking you out your frame, right? But Nac's my dude, right? Nac's my dude. But he is more Pan-African in his actions than the majority of these people who call themselves Pan-African online, right? You got a lot of people like that. You got, what's the dude? JT the Bigger Figure, right? JT the Bigger Figure. JT went over there to Bikini Faso, which I thought was fucking insane, right? Yeah, right. Out of all the countries this African American man went to, especially being from the streets, he went to Burkina Faso, right, on a whim with doing no research, right? He just went off the strength. I praise him for that. Now he came back and gave an impression that he don't know what Pan-Africanism is. Fuck Pan-Africanism. He said that, right? Keep in mind, I'm listening to him say this, right? Because he was responding to other people who were calling themselves Pan-African, who were attacking him because he chose to come back to the United States after, you know, completing his mission over there in Africa, right? But the whole time he's defending himself, in my mind I'm thinking, for this guy not to know fully what Pan-Africanism is, because Pan-Africanism is ideology, and because it's an action itself. The dude on Trap Flicks, freaking JT the Bigger Figure, was practicing Pan-Africanism in Africa. As a matter of fact, he's still on his page promoting, you know, some of his projects he had going on in Africa with his partners over there, right? He is, in fact, by all definition of the word, a Pan-African. There are a lot of Pan-Africans who don't call themselves Pan-Africans. Think about it. My name is Afro Think Tank, right? That's what I call myself on YouTube. I have a Pan-African ideology. I promote Pan-Africanism, right? But I don't actually call myself a Pan-African unless it's in order to put myself in a category so people can understand my ideological thinking and understand my actions and what it is that I'm doing and how you would categorize me. But I don't go around calling myself Afro Think Tank the Pan-African, because I know I don't need to name myself an action or an ideology. I'm just going to do that thing. And there are many Africans, right, participating in Pan-Africanism. Even the ones that say they're xenophobic, FBA, there's a lot of them guys who participate in Pan-Africanism. They work with their brothers and sisters who's also Caribbean. They work and participate and help with their brothers that's African, while trying to maintain their group identity that they have created as FBA and ADOS, right? So while everybody's talking all this shit, Pan-Africanism itself, its ideology, its way of thinking, its operating system, it's working, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. As we have groups right now, keep in mind, African Americans offline have been going to Africa and doing business in Africa, living in Africa for 30, 40 years now, even longer, right? The new wave, because of the wave of the age of information, and because we have all this new, you know, technology, we can talk more about it. We can show our experiences more. It looks like it's a new thing, but it's not really a new thing. What's new is the ability for us to see that us African Americans are doing that. We also, because we can see African Americans and African continental Africans making that connection on this side, right? So Pan-Africanism is working and churning its butter. It's churning into the thing that's supposed to churn into. As we see African states and governments, African diasporan countries like the Caribbean, African institutions within America like African Americans and various other African groups finally get themselves together. We may be talking about the issues that we have, but we are actually taking actions within our communities to uplift ourselves, and we're doing it in front of everybody else for all to see. We're not doing it behind closed doors. All the change and action is happening for everybody to see and to react with and adjust with at the exact same time, right? It's all happening because of Pan-Africanism, because African countries, African people, various nationalities have figured out, for the most part, that we need to work together. The black culture, the thing that we call culture, that changes constantly. The African culture is creating a new culture, right? Because culture is being manifested online now. Usually culture was something that was created within you and your community that you surround yourself with throughout your life. And then you go off to culture, go off to college, and then you get inundated with other cultures, and you get to see other perspectives. And that's where people usually, you know, start to come up with different ways of thinking and perspective of how they want to do life, you know, separate from the way they were brought up, right? But what's happening now, this new world, global, how the world is getting smaller, the African culture is getting smaller. We are gluing ourselves together and yet again folding our African cultures on top of each other, as African American culture is an amalgamation of various other African cultures with a little bit of European culture influence dabbed in, you know, for good measure. We got the African culture itself is folding in on itself as Africans rediscover other Africans that belong to them, and they practice each other's culture, and they celebrate each other's culture, and they incorporate each other's culture within their culture. So the culture, despite the arguments we're having based off the way we feel about how other people are practicing our culture, when Africans do it, it's natural, and it's part of the natural progression of Africans reinventing ourselves and improving on the culture that we've already been improving on over the last, what, 100,000 million years, right? So we're coming up with a new culture that's going to belong to almost to all of us who participate, and that culture is being manifested online, like it or not. A lot of people don't like it, right? But it doesn't matter what you like. What's happening is happening. You either accept it or you don't. You know, you either get with it or you don't. That's what it is. But because of that, African Americans and African continentals are coming up with a new culture, right? That's amalgamation and a mix of the aggressiveness that African Americans and African diasporas like the Caribbeans had to build in order to fight our foes who mean to do us harm, along with all the cultural aspects and the traditional family structures and the traditional mannerisms and the traditional moral guidelines of the Africans themselves mixing with us. We're mixing and folding and building and creating in this new culture that's going to be the dominant culture of the future, right? And this is all due to Pan-Africanism, which is a natural state of being for us African people. It's just something that's happening. And no amount of people coming online making videos about Pan-Africanism dead, no amount of mulattoes who don't feel like they can participate in Pan-Africanism is going to stop it. No amount of Pan-Europeanism is going to stop it. No amount of NATO, no UN, no European governmental organizations are going to be able to stop the movement, because this movement is overwhelming. It's overwhelmingly powerful. We have the numbers, we have the technology, we have the education. We've always had the genius, right? We just didn't have the means, and we didn't understand our orientation on this planet, you know, as of late. We lost our orientation, but now we're getting our orientation back. And once we straighten up and fly right, it's game over. And we've proven that in every institution that we've been allowed to be a part of, every institution that we've been allowed to fully flex our wings and fully show our talents, we have excelled to the very top of that organization, right? And that's just how we are naturally, right? So it's nothing but good things for us in the future. We just have to remain disciplined. Those few of us that are the ones that's pushing innovation forward by making ourselves uncomfortable and doing the thing that the masses don't want to do, we are going to be the ones that reap most of the benefit. And all of those who are sitting back watching, critiquing, and judging, and maybe you don't have much of an opinion on the movement, maybe you don't have an opinion at all, or maybe you have a negative opinion, but at some point your descendants will be looking at Africa and they'll be seeing that Africa is the place of opportunity. Africa is the place where they can strive for what we consider here as the American dream. There'll be an African dream that's going to manifest itself as people become more aware of the opportunities that Africans' homeland can provide for them after they have had example after example after example of other African Americans from within their own tribe going over there, connecting with their brothers and sisters and having success. Even if they're just going over there for business, but living in America, they're still utilizing the resources that's their birthright. Keep in mind, these are resources that are your birthright, right? You know, your descendants will realize, you know, that the fight that we have here in the institution of our oppressor is not the best place to try to build our own institutions, right? But all that will be realized in time, and and just time will be the teacher of that lesson. But anyway, I just wanted to say, man, despite all the different camps that pop up, you know, with us African people, because us African people, I swear we can make a group. We'll make a group. Leave it up to us. We'll make a group to separate ourselves into smaller, weaker people. But thank goodness there are enough people making these Pan-African decisions despite them not thinking that they're Pan-African. Because Pan-Africanism doesn't need people to call themselves Pan-African or to declare themselves part of a Pan-African club for it to work effectively. That's what makes Pan-African so strong and so powerful and so effective. And that's why Pan-Africanism is literally the only movement that's taken effective change to give African people an opportunity to level up in this modern day world. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section. This is Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.